I cheated with my sister's husband and now he's blackmailing me. My life had been a mess long before any of this happened, but this week has just been the cherry on top, and I have no idea how to pick up the pieces and put them back together. I am 29 years old, and I have 4 other grown-up siblings. I am closest to my eldest sister, Kara. Kara and her husband, Dan, own a business together, and they are both rocks within our family. They are always hosting family parties, and everyone adores them. They are both very sociable and successful, unlike me. I have dealt with substance abuse issues and mental health problems since I was in high school, and since then, I have never really learned how to get my life in order. I barely graduated high school, and I never went to college. I have been working in the same retail store for 8 years now, and my life truly feels like it's at a dead end. As I said, I have some pretty crappy substance abuse issues, the worst being alcohol. I am a binge drinker and I never know when to stop. I have embarrassed myself before at family parties because I got too drunk. The worst was when I was holding my cousin's baby and threw up all over its head after having too much to drink. Because of my past actions, a lot of extended family members aren't close to me anymore and shun me when we all get together. I guess I understand, but I have so much guilt and shame that makes it feel impossible to recover one day. Anyway, everything came crashing down this week, and I have never felt this intense guilt. My mother passed away this week from a heart attack. She was a healthy woman, we all thought, and her death came out of nowhere. My siblings and I were all messed up at her funeral, and Kara's husband Dan was doing everything we could to comfort us and keep the guests entertained. At the end of the day, most of my siblings had gone back to the hotel, and the only people still cleaning up in the funeral home were me and Dan. Kara was asleep on one of the couches in the lobby, and I knew the day had been particularly rough on her since she had always been like a second mom in our household. Anyway, I was downstairs in a storage area with Dan where he was putting back some extra chairs. Dan was always such a nice, comforting person, and I guess I just needed someone in that moment. I had been crying and venting to him about how sad I was and how much I was going to miss my mom, and he walked over to me and gave me this big tight hug. He didn't let go for a long time, and I don't know what came over me next. I was almost blackout intoxicated, and it had been so long since someone held me like that. I don't know why I did it, but I looked up at him and kissed him, and he didn't pull away. The next thing I knew, I was bending over a storage crate, and we were hooking up together right downstairs from where my sister was sleeping. The act itself was enjoyable even though it was wrong, but deep down, even during it, I felt awful and guilty. I had never been attracted to it before, and I think I was just in a miserable, vulnerable place. Afterward, the reality dawned on us, and Dan just kept cursing at himself under his breath. I started crying again. I told him that was a mistake and that we were pieces of poop for doing that to Kara. I told him we needed to tell her ASAP, and even though I was still intoxicated, I started walking up the stairs to tell Kara. He literally grabbed my waist and pulled me back, then he whispered in my ear that I wasn't going to tell her poop. I was taken by surprise. I was so upset and disoriented at this point, and I could barely process what was happening to me. Dan told me that we were going to keep this a secret since that would be best for Kara. He said that if I ever tried to admit what we had done, he would lie and say that I came onto him and assaulted him. He said that everyone would believe him and not me since I was just the family screw-up. His hurtful words just made me cry even harder, and back in my hotel room, I cried so hard that I made my vocal cords sore the next morning. I don't know what I am doing to do. Dan's right, no one would believe me if he chose to lie. How could Kara ever forgive me for this when she's already had to forgive me for so much? Maybe I should just leave my family behind. They would clearly be better off without me.